Hello and welcome back to the FESS Showcase, where we look at devs, games, publishers, and always a few other things. It's the end of 2025, so it might be time to look at some quote-unquote last-minute additions. Now, with the FESS Showcase, I have a few rules that I have put in place to make everything run a bit, let's just say, smoother. So, these rules consist of, number one, no games with over 1,000 reviews. It's just a generic thing to keep it much more niche, but also to allow for smaller games that don't have many people buying and reviewing to be in the spotlight. The second is typically it has to be a game that looks interesting to me, meaning I try my best with some games and I will do my best, but typically I want something that interests me personally. But other than that, I kind of try anything. The third rule is, well, it just has to fit in the time schedule, right? Like, there are a lot of games that will not fit in my schedule, and that's a shame because I'm limited to how many times or how much time I can record. And also, how many Saturdays there are in a year. There are about 52. And when there's only that many Saturdays, I don't want to just cram everything in. I want each game to be able to have its own way to shine. Well, game or mod, but like each item to have its own time to shine. So today we're going to be looking at 9, that's a lot, of 9 different games that I didn't have a chance to show off this year, whether I didn't have a chance to show off this year, whether it doesn't meet the criteria for reviews, or it's just something neat that I thought is really cool and it's coming out hopefully next year. And yeah, let's just look at some games, shall we?
Things with meaning have a function. People with meaning do too. Sometimes they function for longer. A chair exists to be sat on. That is its meaning. An elevator exists to move between floors. A person exists to work. If something breaks, the meaning is lost.
This first game is The Lift by Fantastic Signals and published by Tiny Build. Now, this game is, one, very striking. I love the art style. But originally, earlier this year, they offered a playtest. Now, a lot of games have been offering playtests recently to show off what could be seen as a demo or an earlier build of the game. I've noticed this you have Arc Raiders with the Server Smash. You have The Lift with this one with their playtest, and then you have Far Far West, another game that will be shown off in January on the channel. But The Lift is really fun. It's a single player game that allows you to go around this abandoned research facility after who knows what happened, but you've been essentially abandoned there. You were never woken up out of stasis, so everybody's gone. And it's really cool. It's inspired by Soviet sci-fi and the SCP Foundation, which you can see in some of the imagery, some of the ways the game functions. But what's really cool is it's a workplace simulator in the best ways. It's one of those games where if you want to play a game that you are a handyman, this is it. And my favorite part about it was solving these puzzles. Because, yeah, I'll say it. It's solving the puzzles because some of these puzzles are extremely difficult. In that I'm just dumb. But overall, it's such an interesting premise. Because as someone who loves anomalies and SCP, this immediately scratches that itch of, say, what would happen if you worked at the SCP Foundation and something went wrong and now you have to fix up the building. But it also just works in the fact that you're just fixing this facility and people are going to come in and join you, from what I can understand. So I would give this game a try. It's really fun, and I really hope that they're successful with this game because it is one of these, oh my god, it's just fun. You get the art style, as I said, just brings you into the world. It's just, I don't know. it's just chef's kiss. Like, it's really cool. And if I had the choice to give this its own showcase, I would. My only reason why I'm not is I, one, recorded it knowing I wouldn't be doing a full showcase on it, but two, it's one of those games that I know that a lot of people are going to like, or going to play this and like it, because as of the playtest, they announced that they had reached 100,000 wish lists and then extended the playtest until like the end of September because of it. So I'm looking forward to this game. Of all of these, this is the one that I'm most hyped for. So hopefully it's good. I know I'm gonna be looking forward to it and hopefully enjoy it. So yeah, that's this is the lift.
You are here to return meaning to broken things. Thank you for your service.
Hey there, fellow elements and compounds. It's your favorite duo, Droplet and Molecule. We're down here at the annual Galactic Science Festival, hosted by the one and only Professor Humphrey Heisenberg Otto.
When talking about these games, one of the things I do have to admit is some of them are a little weirder than others, but still pretty good. This is Droplet States of Matter by Crayfish Entertainment, and the best way to describe this is that it reminds me of playing kids' games in my elementary school library on the computers in the computer lab. Because it's a platforming game that focuses on states of matter. So if you're fighting against an enemy who is a plant, you probably are going to have to use fire. Or if you're fighting against an enemy that is fire-based, you're going to have to probably use water. Each environment requires you to shift your state of matter throughout to do different activities. Like, one of the levels that I played was an ice level that required that if I wanted to cross the water, I needed to freeze it. So it needed to become ice. But then as I got to the top part, I needed to deal with some enemies, so I had to switch to fire. Fire is in, I believe it was cloud, maybe? Or it was just general water. Or maybe speed. It was one of those states, and what's really cool about it is that, as I said, it reminds me of my childhood, and it reminds me to go and appreciate some of the older types of games, because one of the cool things about this game is that it's not just partially educational in a way with all the different states of matter and how they help fix the world or what you're looking at and weather and all that stuff, but it's just kind of neat, you know. It's an older art style, it feels very simplistic, but it's still enjoyable. And that's perfectly fine. Like, you can have just something that's enjoyable. And what gets me is this game doesn't have that many reviews. So we can assume that maybe this game maybe doesn't have that many purchases, but the dude who put behind the game put so much effort in, and as you can, in one of the final devlogs, it says, due to limited resources and non-existent budget, put his soul into the project. It's forged with passion, and you can feel that. The problem with a lot of modern games is that they dive too heavily into looking realistic. It took me a sec to think about that, and when I'm talking about art style, I feel like all of these games in this list kind of focus on art style more than anything, but I recommend this game simply based on art style, and honestly, like, maybe sometime I might do this as a full playlist on my channel, or a full series, because it is fun, and yeah, it's just, it has a nostalgic vibe for it, behind it, and I do appreciate that. I also just appreciate the amount of effort that is been put into that game, or this specific game. So, yeah, Droplet States of Matter, pretty good, and it's actually quite enjoyable.
Let's reiterate the terms and conditions of your voluntary enrollment. You have waived the right to autonomy of mind, body, and soul, given yourself to us to mold. Does that sound agreeable, 404?
Besides the lift, this is the other game that I'm looking heavily forward to in 2026, and I'm really hoping it comes out in 2026, or just comes out soon. This is the Oversight Bureau by Iconic Interactive, and this one is really trippy. So, the way the game works is that the game engages in all these different looks at rehabilitation, or it's focused on this idea of rehabilitation to become appropriate for society. And what's really neat is that what they do is they use your microphone. I know, original, but the way it works is that it uses your microphone for responses. So you will say the name or what you're doing or your choices, and each choice affects the game. Early in the tutorial, there is a point where you have to guide a woman to a exit during a fire, and you are her only lifeline. And she listens to you. You have to give instructions, and mind you, it is more simplistic. It's trying its best, the AI is trying its best, but you have to make your choice, and each choice does change. Like, she can't get out or she won't get out. Sometimes it's just dumb, and sometimes it doesn't always listen to commands because it's not there to give you the full extent or tell you exactly what command you need to follow. And what I find really neat about that is that in certain sections, they will give you the words. They will explicitly tell you, say this, or here are your choices. But in others, that like dealing with the two robots, you have to tell them explicitly what to do, and they will follow it. If you give them the wrong commands, they won't listen. They will say, "I don't know what you want from me." And each element comes to head when you can read your review or your report at the end of each section. It's a very neat premise, because using whatever voice modulation, voice system they're using, they are building or rehabilitating you as a person. It's a weird feeling when you realize that maybe you're responding as time goes on closer to what they want you to respond with. And as you go on, your choices can have consequences. It's a weird one, and I'm looking forward to it. I know it's probably something akin to YouTuber bait and using your microphone and giving the player a choice, but I feel like it is just a very interesting take on this idea of you need to comply with society, and they're going to test you at every point to see if you do comply. Otherwise, you're not leaving the Oversight Bureau.
Home again, jiggity jig. Another day over, candidate, and another step closer to a better you. You just have to let go, 404. Just have to let the program in.
How is she?
Not good. She's lost a lot of blood. Her pulse is weakening.
Get her into the recovery chamber now.
But we can't guarantee she'll make it through.
Do we have any other choice?
How do I describe Psycho Dead by Moon Catalyst Co.? I don't know. This is a weird one that I clicked on, and this was one of the reasons why I wanted to do the last minute editions. But in the weird twist of events, this is a weird game. it reminds me of Resident Evil, but it also reminds me of The Evil Within. It's a third-person horror survival horror game that is set to come out next year, and you're dealing with creatures, fleshy creatures. We could arguably call them zombies. I don't know. There's a mechanical flesh tyrant of sorts who you do interact with at least twice that I noticed in the demo. But other than that, you are moving around as you're trying to solve puzzles and get to your objective using psychic power to escape, as well as having to deal with other scientists or all this horrible like creatures all around you. As I said, it's a strange one, and the animation really good. The gameplay, pretty good. Like, it's not bad. It's just, there are some choices that I'm astounded by. Like, I don't know. It's a very interesting game. I know it reminds me of some other similar games that have come out recently that are based around being survival horror or being like a certain way. All I know is that it's not a bad game. It's interesting. It's just weird. Weird is the best way I can describe it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I don't know how. I don't know. It's one of those things it's one of those games you can look forward to. It's just strange. And I don't know why, but I just can't describe it. You know? So, yeah. Uncover a chilling tale. But as a game, as I said, the best thing is it reminds me of Resident Evil. And while I haven't personally played like a lot of Resident Evil, if at all, I have played other variety of other survival horror games that are based on the premises or some of the concepts that you can see in Resident Evil with modern survival horror, and yeah, it's enjoyable. And the psychic power is pretty nice to control. It's just gotta make sure to manage your resources, otherwise you'll end up dead in Psycho Dead.
Damn it! Victor's still watching us.
Dr. Rose, what's going on?
Hello, Alexia. Did you sleep well? It must have been quite a long rest, hasn't it?
God, I don't even know how to start this. Dr. Marshall insists this will be therapeutic. But honestly, I feel ridiculous talking to a machine.
Talking about strange games and how I don't know how to react properly to them, this is Korot. It's a strange game by Aztec Game Studios that has mixed reviews right now. But the best way to describe it is that it follows this idea of PT, or follows the game concept of PT, where you're walking in a house and crossing this hall over and over again. Now, I don't know how much the demo has compared to the main game, and I can assume that there's probably a lot more. But the way this game plays with the player and messes with them is fairly commendable. There was a point in which the game said something directly to me, and it quit out. And the moment I tried reloading, it gave me a warning of, oh, you're back, don't do XYZ. It's a very trippy experience. And mind you, as I said, it was only the demo, but I can tell you, it knows what it wants and pulls a few quick ones on the player. It's weird. And once again, as I said, I don't know how to describe it because it remembers how you're moving. So you're exploring this abandoned house, And as you uncover tapes, things change. It's not that long, but you kind of have to understand that a true PT experience would not be that long. There's just not much you can really do that would then have to branch off into a different path. And while it has mixed reviews now, I would say this game originally very much an interesting premise, and I think it takes the premise and does something with it that actually is enjoyable. It's just, mind you, be very careful and watch yourself because the house knows you're there. But yeah, let's go, Rot, and let's go on to the next one, shall we? Back when I was a kid and the only games I could really play were on the web, my favorite genres was tower defense, like Bloons or Kingdom Rush. So I found this game on Reddit just a few months ago. This is Spires of Morosith Gossamer Sundered. It's a interesting type of tower defense game where you actually kind of have to think about where the things, or where the enemies really, are routing. Because as you place your towers, the enemies will change how they're routing through the map. Heck, there were points where I put the towers in the wrong spot, and I had to work around this. It's a interesting point of view brought up by Dead Yeti Clown Car as the developer. Did not really pay attention to that name before. It's a fairly enjoyable sequence of events when you play this game because the first boss that I encountered was annoying, but I could see the point of you have to defend your tower, you have to defend your core, and it does matter, but having to fight all these enemies at different points was just difficult. There was a lot more thinking involved than your general tower defense game where you can just sit there, upgrade your towers, and be done with it. It was much harder overall, as I said, because when you actually have to choose the routes, block off different components or parts, and push them in a certain direction, otherwise they're not going to hit any towers and they could just go to the end, then you're going to run into some problems. So it really does come down to how well can you defend the world overall, and are you good at what you are doing? So yeah, as a tower defense game, I found it really fun. It's much more of a strategy title, and this is one of those games that I just would recommend. It scratched that itch for tower defense that I have had since I was a kid, and now I have it as an adult.
Another year without you, Father. Exactly 10 years since you walked into this park and never came back.
Another thing that I bring up from my childhood that a lot of people may or may not agree with is the idea of the amusement park. One of my first games that I played on my family computer, or the family computer at the time, was Sims Theme Park. And it was really fun, really enjoyable, but I always just loved to see the idea of what an abandoned amusement park looks like, or just what can you create that is an amusement park? What concepts are there? And that's where I saw and kind of enjoyed Emotionless: The Last Ticket by X1 Games. It's a liminal cosmic horror thingy, I would say, experience, but it's a thing in a abandoned amusement park, or at least it starts in an abandoned amusement park. And as I went through the demo, I reached empty tunnels that felt Lovecraftian in nature, felt big, vast, open. Now, once I reached that point, I stopped fully paying attention. Maybe didn't enjoy it as much, but for what the game is, I can say that it's strange. There is just something that's watching you from the outside. And the intro as the amusement park caught me because you can just explore and look around the rides and just kind of just enjoy yourself like it's a day at the park. That part is one of my favorite components of this. And just riding the roller coaster and just looking around, it's just cool to see what an abandoned amusement park looks like. When you move on to the more cosmic horror elements, they're good, but maybe just not my favorite when you start with an amusement park. But overall, it is an interesting horror experience, and it does take a good look at what makes, say, a liminal or a purely liminal game work in the abandoned sections that you come across. Do I have much more to say about this game? No. Emotionless The Last Ticket is one of those titles that it reminds me of just what happens when you mix different elements together and you see what can come of it. And I feel like a Lovecraftian amusement park makes sense. There are other games that have tried it, or other games that work with this element that they can be combined, and I just wish or want to see what more comes of it in the full game, which is out. It's just not something I played. Not yet.
James, listen to me. We don't have much time. This was a mistake. Do not keep going. Yes?
Hello? Father? Are you there?
One thing that is brought up in game development quite a bit is typically this idea of a meta narrative, or this idea where you can look at game development and see where it goes. And I like this concept because you can see it with games like the Stanley Parable that break immersion sometimes. You see that with games like Title Pending, where the whole point is breaking the game because you need to escape the game somehow. An Unfinished Game by Vinzi does just that. It's a testing game where the idea is your goal is to find all these bugs that have honestly just infested the game and its levels. Now, this game is trippy. Very trippy. I thoroughly enjoyed it. There are a lot of games where this idea of the meta can outweigh what the game is, but Vinzi did a very good job of bringing it all together. There are vending machines that when you press the button, they just open up and someone drops a can. There's gambling as a level of what would happen for microtransactions. There's all these different areas that are quote-unquote testing features. You can choose your player model, and then oops, the player model gets scrapped and you're given a default. It's one of those things where it's very enjoyable. I really want to play the full game, and I possibly will play it this upcoming year for the channel. We shall see. Or maybe for the future, sometime for the channel. But it's an interesting thing when game developers push this idea of the meta narrative and say, hey, this is what happens in game development. Have some fun with it. And it's just, I really did enjoy this. I love short experiences that are just weird. And mind you, the demo is what the short experience is. Otherwise, the game will be longer, or is longer in general. But this idea of you're going through all these experiments, these smaller puzzles, and seeing all these components of game development as a whole, chatting with other testers or chatting with other people, it's an interesting take on it. Finding the bugs I just thought was fun, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. In the end, I did find all the bugs. Good for me. But overall, An Unfinished Game is a game that if you like game development, you like meta narratives, you like walking sims with some comedy, I would check it out. I know I want to check out the full game very soon. This one is an interesting one for me because I've had the prologue for this game in my library for years now. This is No Mori. Now, instead of a demo, I played the prologue, which is going to be probably, or just generally, very different from what game comes out. But No Mori is what we could see as a mind-bending adventure where space and time are controlled through traveling through these portals that rotate the world, or rotate the perspective of the player. You can change flow of time, move stuff around. It's very trippy. And let's just say it breaks your brain. Because when you go and make these choices or figure out how to move through these areas, it's very confusing. I know I spent on one of the levels probably close to 10, 15 minutes trying to figure out where I was supposed to go or how I was supposed to access what I needed to in order to move all forward. Now, No Worries by Enchanted Works, it's one of those games where I've been watching this for a while, and I'm glad to see that they now have a apparent release date of Q1 2026, or the first 3 months of 2026. Now, this game, or at least the prologue, came out in 2022. I thought it came out earlier. For all I know, it did. Somewhere, right? But it was the pre-alpha. So I want to give them some flack and say that you can play the prologue right now. And it'll be similar to the main game, but it's not going to be the exact same in any way. But you can at least get an introduction if you want to go try it out for free before the main game comes out. Because you never know. If you like mind-bending puzzles and you like just figuring out how to move forward in different ways, whether you need to move time backwards, forwards, jump in a certain way, move things a certain way, run through a portal in one direction, move through a portal in another to flip how your view is. It's just, I love puzzle platformers, whether they're third person or first person. I feel like third person is a little bit more mind melty for me, because when you're dealing with a third person, depending on how they are, you got to pay a bit more attention. Where first person, it kind of feels more like you can just freely move through space. But I would say if you like puzzle platformers, I highly recommend No Mori. And I can't wait to see what the finished game looks like. It'll be interesting to see, but I'm believing that Enchanted Works will come out with something good, because if they're pre-alpha, the testing stage is as good as it is, which it is, I think that they have a winner on their hands. So check out No Mori, or at least the prologue, which will be listed in the description, or wherever I put the game list this time, whether in a paste bin or in some other location. I just recommend checking it out. And there you have it, 9 different games that I believe could be considered last minute additions for FESS this year, or to the FE Saturday Showcase this year. Not all of them are the greatest, not all of them are the best, but I think that every game can be given a chance, and the games on this list I thoroughly enjoyed. Whether it was going through the puzzles in No Mori, diving into an unfinished game, playing Psycho Dead and just seeing how weird they could take it, or even checking out The Lift. I found myself really enjoying a lot of these games this year, and I'm looking forward to the games that are releasing in 2026, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the games that have released earlier and I've yet to fully play, meaning play the full version, have in store. So, yeah. As always, if you want to check out any of these games, they are linked down below in the pastebin link with their developers, the title, and a link to either the game, a demo, or both. And I just want to thank you for a great year. So, hats off to 2025. And once again, thank you for watching. I will talk to you in the next one. Bye-bye.